What kind of creature can flourish in an environment of acidic soil? Perhaps it takes a creature with a strange adaptation, or perhaps desperation. This is Unreal Encounters.
Welcome to Unreal Encounters, where we examine the mysterious and the unexplained and talk about possible theories about what may be happening. Today, I'm joined by Lindsay and Josh once again, and today we are talking about the Jersey Devil.
Yes.
Have you heard anything about the Jersey Devil?
A bit. When I was actually in high school, I think I joined like an online RP story where everyone was going to be like a cryptid or like a creature, and so I was like black dog myth, sort of thing, mixed with werewolves.
Okay.
But then there was another kid who was like, I turned into the Jersey Devil and it's all terrible and terrifying, and I'm like, you do you, bro.
Cool.
Yeah.
To everyone's surprise, I know absolutely nothing about the Jersey Devil.
Have you ever been to New Jersey?
Round, I think, 5 of not knowing anything about the cryptid.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's been we had 6 the first season. Did you know anything? I guess you knew some of them.
I knew, I think, 2 of them. So this is probably, round 7 or 8? I don't know. I lost track. It doesn't matter. I just don't know.
You gotta get out more, Josh, or stay in and
You
read
gotta
Wikipedia more.
Study more cryptids. All right, let's jump in.
The Pine Barrens of New Jersey were a rough place to live. When early settlers first started to come over from England, many of them brought over crops they were familiar with. However, places like the Pine Barrens made it challenging to grow food. The soil consisted of sand and was largely acidic. This meant that many chose not to settle there, as it wasn't worth it. This did mean, however, that only the most desperate people were willing to try their hand in the acidic soil, although some wonder if it was just the soil keeping people out. In the early 1700s, rumors began to form that there was a beast in the Pine Barrens. This beast was described by many as large, over 7 feet, with hooves and a tail like a snake. The beast also had wings like a bat and a head that resembled a horse. Many chose to avoid the Pine Barrens in order to avoid becoming prey to this monster.
Demon horse.
Demon horse.
Demon horse.
And this is one of the old ones. Starts early, 1700s.
Yes. This is getting close to like Loch Ness Monster longevity sort of thing.
Yeah, that's I think is that our oldest one?
I think it's the oldest.
I think
The
it's
Kraken
the
might
oldest,
come
yeah.
close too.
Maybe,
but
yeah, that's true.
they've both been around for a while.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
Ooh. Okay, yeah. So, initial thoughts was also... So there's so many things that have horse faces, like really scary things that have horse faces. I was specifically thinking about the Kelpie, which is a Scottish myth, which is like it's like a water horse that will like drag you to the bottom.
Nice.
Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not.
Till it drags you to the bottom.
Yes.
Okay.
Eats your flesh.
I thought Kelpies were more friendly than that. Apparently, I
Nope.
didn't research Kelpies. Yeah, I don't know. Horses, I guess, are just terrifying to most people.
I guess. I mean, if it's a hot-blooded horse, I mean, it's gonna choose
they're
violence daily.
Kind of terrifying. What do you think of the Pine Barrens? This was one of the fascinating parts of the story for me. The fact that there's this place that just sucks to do anything in the ground with.
Oh man, I mean, it kind of makes a little bit of sense. I mean, if it's just pine trees and pine trees, like you've got these evergreen needles just covering the ground, and it's not getting what it needs to be good for crops and stuff. So
That's true.
I feel like it's almost a natural thing that if you have an empty space, you want to say there's something scary in that space.
True.
witches have cursed the land. There are demons about. It's just a nightmare.
Just always a cursed
Well,
land.
also just like with the 1700s too, like, people are coming to a new place that they're not familiar with. It's
Coming
a
from
hard
England.
life, and you kind of want to blame something.
That's true, yeah.
It was witches in the 1600s in Salem, now in the Pine Barrens, it's the Jersey Devil in the 1700s, there's always going to be some sort of supernatural external cause for your problems.
The beast would soon become known as the Jersey Devil and would have numerous sightings over the years. There are actually so many that we can't possibly talk about them all here. One particularly noteworthy set of sightings came in the year 1909. In January, newspapers reported a rush of attacks from an alleged creature all over the state. A creature had attacked a trolley car, a social club, and even had a confrontation with officers. The officers had even fired on the creature to no effect. These encounters caused schools to close and workers to call in sick to work. It is also rumored that Philadelphia Zoo put out a reward for anyone who could bring them a piece of the creature's dung.
Whoa.
That's an old creature, man.
Whoa. Or maybe it had babies, you know. This is like the great-great-grandson.
Don't put that in the universe.
There's tons of them running around.
I'd rather have one scary thing that won't die than
It's
12
unkillable.
that are going to have more children. I'd rather not.
Okay, yeah, so that's really caused some problems.
I mean, I just was surprised that it attacked a trolley car and a social club. I was thinking, like,
Yeah.
normally all these encounters, it's like, oh, we were driving on a road late at night. It was dark.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, I was walking through the woods alone at night. And it's like, duh, you're going to run into something.
Yeah.
But it
or
was
like, my cows have been killed
Yeah.
mysteriously sort of thing.
your
but,
chickens
like,
are all dead. And you're like, hey, what? The chupacabra is murdering my
yeah.
stuff.
What, the chupacabra?
But this is like, you're riding the trolley car to like
Yeah.
the party. And all of a sudden this monster jumps in the trolley car or on the, I assume it jumped on like the side of the car.
Maybe on top of it, you know? Like, because it's got
Yeah,
wings.
something. And then it was a social club.
Yeah.
And I think those kind of led to the police officers then encountering it in the street and trying to shoot it.
Encountering it in the street. Like, but also, like, I really need to, like, read these actual reports because, like, if they did just encounter it in the street, like, that's...
To be fair, we don't have the reports. We have the newspaper from the time. Because it was a long time ago, 1909.
Gotta sell a story.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Sensationalize it a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Louisiana, like, you know, New Orleans had the Axeman, so, you know, we need to have something.
They had
yeah.
to.
You gotta get
I mean, to be
something going.
fair, the Pine Barrens, New Jersey, has had the Jersey Devil for years.
It's true, it's true.
They're like the first one.
The Axeman wishes that he could be like the Jersey Devil.
It's true, yeah.
With all the sightings of this monster, you'd think we'd know what it was. But there is still a lot of confusion, so let's look into possible theories. Our first theory is that the Jersey Devil is merely several misidentified animals. Due to the countless sightings, but not definitive word, it is possible the Jersey Devil was merely used when you didn't know what animal you saw. It's possible dogs or other wild animals all played a part in bringing this monster to life.
That makes a little more sense to me.
It does. Because, you know, again, you know, you've got that power of suggestion bit where you've got this folklore in the area
Yep.
for so long, you know, for 200 years before these things happen, all these disturbances. And maybe the zoo was trying to cover its tracks because they're just like, hey,
They let a bear
yeah,
out.
get
and
us
they
some
were
of your,
like,
get us some of the dung, and we'll pay you. You know, because it's definitely a monster and not one of our animals that got
when
it.
in reality, their wolf just escaped. And they were like, whoops.
Whoops.
Don't
Where
tell
did the
nobody.
bat wings and the snake tail and the horse head come in if it was a wolf?
Well, I mean, maybe those weren't said when they attacked, like, the trolley car. Maybe that wasn't... Because, I mean, I could see if it was a really nasty wild dog or something in the city, people probably freaked out. And I can also see how people would be like, oh, it attacked our trolley car, whereas really it just, like, walked by.
Yeah.
And, like, maybe the police shot at it because it's a wild dog and you wanted... And they missed, and then it just escaped. And they were like, oh, the bullets didn't affect it! It wasn't my bad aim!
Oh, man. Well, but the thing about the description of the Jersey Devil, like, seems to indicate size more than,
Yeah,
like,
true.
you know, than
10
just like a
feet.
dog
Or
even
8
a
feet.
wolf, because you know,
7 feet.
like actual wolves
7
are
feet.
big. They're really big, but
It's true.
You know,
But not that big.
like I wonder if like some guy's horse got loose or something like that.
Yeah.
And like maybe he dressed it up for Halloween so it had bat wings on or something. Possibilities
For
are endless.
200 years.
200
Yes.
years it got out, and he's like, man, I still haven't found it.
This man and his
they're like-
ancestors have been sending out dressed up horses into the Pine Barrens.
They're just concocting the myth.
Aggressive dressed up horses.
I don't think hoax was an option in this one.
I know.
But I
like,
think now it might need to be a theory.
it's fun, you know.
It's just one generation after another just be like, we got to perpetuate this like
Commit to the
monster.
bit. Yep.
Maybe the son is like, Dad, I don't want to do Jersey Devils. And the dad's like, you have to. We've kept this up for 200 years, man.
Vampires can't even keep up. What I think is really interesting, though, on like a more serious note, is like 200 years. I feel like this is almost playing telephone. Like,
Yeah, there is a little bit of
how
that.
much of, these people that saw these things, how much of them were actually describing it had a horse head, It had bat wings. It
Had
That I
snake tail,
don't
you
have
know.
statistics on.
Exactly. I'm like, what were the descriptions originally? Because that would make me feel like if there was like enough descriptions, I'd say, yeah, there's something out there. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a deformed horse or a deformed dog, but
Yeah.
there's something out there, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's kind of like Loch Ness Monster, where it was like, it's a snake, it's a and then it was when the picture comes out, oh, it's a
plesiosaur.
And so it grew over time, and so you
Mm-hmm.
wonder if maybe someone saw something with wings in the woods and was like, it has bat wings.
Yeah.
And then someone was like,
Yeah.
well, it has the head of a horse.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
what this makes me think of a little bit, because we've got these English farmers coming to settle in the Americas, and the very specific description of the Jersey Devil may have come about at that time, because that does kind of harken back, because they called it the Jersey Devil. It's very devilish imagery with the hooves, the wings, the snake tail, the horse head,
Sure.
even.
I mean,
I think there's like a Welsh folkloric character that is like this horse skull that like comes in, drinks all your alcohol,
Mm-hmm. Kind
and
of a
don't beat it in a rhyming
derivative.
contest or something. Like it's cultural. Like it makes sense for the time and the culture.
like almost a derivative folklore creature
yeah,
that
yeah.
sort of
And they kind of cobbled it
Imprinted.
together, but and then we've got in the 1900s all these weird incidents happening, and they don't know what it is, and it probably maybe doesn't even look like what the Jersey Devil was described as
Yeah.
originally. But they're like, we don't know what this is, but there's this tale about
Yeah.
this creature in the area.
Well, and it's kind of like the theory. It's the just assigning when you're like, well, I don't know what that was. It must have been a Jersey Devil. Like just that's what you called
Yeah.
something when you had no
Exactly.
clue what it was.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Our second theory is that the Jersey Devil is a real creature, as yet undiscovered. Due to the overwhelming sightings of a beast in the Pine Barrens, many think it is foolish not to believe this creature was maybe once real. I say once because many believe if it did exist, it is most likely now extinct. Due to the surrounding cities, many believe the Pine Barrens is being affected, and efforts have begun to help conserve it, but perhaps we were too late for this monstrous beast.
So
Good?
no.
I don't know about that. I'm starting now to think about like the the ancient Egyptian art of like the like leopards with serpent necks and things like that. It's a creature with a very long neck that has jaguar skin. It's a giraffe.
True.
Like
Yeah. Sometimes getting it mixed up.
yeah, I don't know. Like it could be like people describing something mundane that they just haven't seen before, and our interpretations of the description cobbles together
True.
this strange monster.
Well, and it could have been a weird species of horse that lived in the Pine Barrens that has now died out, perhaps.
Yeah.
And all we found was horse skeletons, and I don't know if horses live in the Pine Barrens, but maybe
They
it was
do
some
now.
kind of creature.
Yeah. They don't now.
They don't know.
I mean, they
died
don't
out.
now. They did once.
Yeah, I mean that's a common one with a lot of these cryptids is like, oh, it did exist at one point, but it's since died because which to be fair, as humans, we've destroyed a lot of habitats.
Yeah, it's really
And
sad.
so if there was a very exclusive creature that lived in one specific area, it is likely that we could have wiped it out.
Yeah.
Although it's hard to believe that we didn't find any remnants of a giant horse-faced
Bat-winged,
monstrosity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a little
fair.
sus.
It's a little
As
hard
the
to believe.
kids say.
Our final theory is an odd one, that the Jersey Devil never existed. There are so many reports of this monster that would seem impossible, but hear me out. Earlier we talked about how awful the Pine Barrens were for European crops, and this meant that many did not settle in the Barrens unless they were out of options. This meant that many people in the Pine Barrens were the outcasts of society. This meant that many of the other colonists chose to avoid the Pine Barrens out of principle of the people living there. It is believed that this social discrimination may have shaped the folklore of the time. Parents told their kids to avoid the Barrens because of the monster that lived there, when in reality, it was simply just the people.
That kind of makes sense actually, because I think it speaks to even like modern homelessness and things like that.
Yeah.
Where usually the people that are displaced from society are people who generally have, very bad mental illness, very extreme, cases of like schizophrenia and things
Yeah.
like that. So I could see potentially, someone that was, cast out from, the local
Yeah.
township that, claims to have saw something, and they may have thought that they did see it. legitimately. But
Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah.
I think there's a good statement to be said for that. Part of me wants to believe that it is real because of the amount of encounters, but at the same
True.
time,
Something attacked that trolley car and that social club
Yeah.
and those officers.
And
how real is the description? No idea.
Yeah, I
But
think
something could be out there.
it's kind of one of those where it's the classic of like several theories are kind of true at the same time, where it's
Yeah.
like, oh, there was something that attacked a trolley car. Now, was it a Jersey Devil? Probably not.
Yeah.
Did the Jersey Devil most likely come from just people being like, don't go in the Pine Barrens because there's a lot of people in there that we don't like?
Yeah.
And that could have been where the initial bit of the Jersey Devil came from, and then it was like some random animal attacked something, and it was like, oh, it's the Jersey Devil. So I think it's one of those, could be a multiple theories.
I'm also curious with the trolley car because the first thing that came to my mind was I've seen a dog run up and jump off of a car, like literally jump, land on the car and push off. And I'm like, that's wild. I can't
Yeah.
believe that could happen. So I'm like, wonder how this thing behaves.
Yeah.
If that was the kind of thing or if it was bumping up against it.
Yeah.
What was the reason, you know?
That's true.
Curious to see.
Yeah.
Or not to see.
Or not to see.
Yeah. I don't think we'll see it.
Dang it. Thanks for crushing my dreams.
I'm sorry.
Whatever you make of the Jersey Devil, just remember that there are countless places in the world that house all kinds of things that we may fear due to our lack of understanding. But when we look a little closer at monsters hiding in the woods, we may be surprised to see something that is merely trying to survive in this complicated world of ours. Places like the Pine Barrens keep that curiosity of what could be out there alive through its mysterious stories and legends.
Well, that brings us to the end of our episode. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe so you know when the next episode's coming out your way. And we will see you then. Stay curious.